Hi guys, and welcome to my second tutorial on PHP, and in this tutorial I'll talk about if statements. Now if you watched my previous tutorials on JavaScript, I've also shown you how to create if statements in JavaScript. It's pretty much fairly similar process which follows the same syntax probably. The syntax of if statements is pretty much the same everywhere. So if you know any other programming language, this will be piece of cake for you, because it's very simple. What changes is the variable, the use of variables basically, because we have a different declaration in different programming languages basically. So it's just that, and otherwise it's the same thing basically because it's an if statement. And for those of you who doesn't know or don't study other programming languages, an if statement is basically a selection programming, a program on selection. So the program, when the program runs, it goes in a sequence. So line by line, program reads a code. Now in the conditional programming, the code is written line by line, but if a selection is not true, for example, it is omitted and it is not executed at all. So for example, if your if statement is not true, because we set conditions in if statements, if your if statement condition is not true, it will be omitted and the code will the program will move on to a further code, or will simply finish the program because there's no more code, something like this. It depends on what's after the if statement. So it's a conditional programming because it's on condition. It's not always executed. It may be executed or maybe not. So it depends on variables. And today I will show you how to create them. Now I've created a new folder with a new file. So I suggest you probably should do the same. It's just easier to separate the things. But anyway, to create a if statement, we will need a variable. If you watched my previous videos, you will know that. If not, I will show you this. So for example, num, which will be a variable, numeric variable I will use, and I will also use a string for further references. So for example, dark. So I'll show you the example on num first. The if statement is very simple. If statement starts with a keyword if, then you open the bracket, and inside the bracket you simply state the condition. Now the condition is something like this. This, or object 1, let's say object 1 is equal to object 2. That's pretty much the condition. So if object 1 is equal to object 2, do something. Otherwise do nothing maybe, or otherwise move on with the code, whatever it is. But I will show you the first basic build of the if statement, then I will move on to other examples. So first of all, let's have a num is, for example, less than 5, which is false because number is equal to 5. So this condition will be false. And also, when you create an if statement, you open and close curly brackets. You have to do it. And inside, you simply state your statements. You put your statements and your actions, as I like to call it. You put the actions. So what the program will execute when this condition above is basically true. So if that's true, this something between those two curly brackets will be executed, whatever it is. So I will have a print, and I will print something like this. This value is less than 5. Something like this. Very simple thing. So if I say this and I run this, so I saved it, and where is okay, tutorial 2, you will see nothing basically because it's not true, so it's not executed. But if I change the number to, let's say, 3, now the condition will be true because number is less than 5. So I saved it, and when I just refresh it, you will see the value is less than 5. So as you can see, the statement was printed out only under the condition that the number was less than 5. If it wasn't, it simply didn't print anything. It just left it. So that's how the conditional programming basically works. Now it's the same thing with the strings. We don't use a less than sign with the strings. when we use the strings, we use a different sign. When we compare a string, for example, so let's say name here. If you want to check if name is the same or is equal to some kind of string, then we do double equal sign. The double equal sign doesn't mean to assign, but to compare, to check whenever the value on the left hand side is the same as the value on the right hand side. We can check it with 5. Probably won't return any errors, but it will not be valid because it's a number. So it's better to always put strings in here, and the string we can actually check, for example, is anything. If it's SADA, for example, ASDA, it won't be true. So again, I save this and nothing gets printed. But if I change, for example, to something like this, and I save this again, and the condition will be true and the statement will be printed. So it's a very simple concept. It's simply if it's true or not. If something is true, it will be printed. So you set the condition. If when you have, for example, user answers and stuff like this, when you get the data to your script, because you can do this, and I will show you in my future tutorial how to do it. This is just the basic structures of the PHP. So for example, if you get the data from the user and check for the password, so the user enters the password, you want to check it because you may have it in the database or something. So you check a specific user for a specific password, and if it's equal to something. If it's equal to something, then let him through, go to another page or whatever, load his profile or whatever you want to do. If it's not, then you can display a message. That's how if statement can be used actually. Another addition to the if statement is an else statement. An else statement covers everything else basically that the if didn't. So for example, this condition applies to only the value being the same as the dark. If it's not, if I put something like this, the else statement will cover it. So as long as my variable is not equal to this, the else statement will cover it. I will put the else statement here. It works on pretty much the same basis. Now the else statement is a bit different because it doesn't have a condition, because it covers everything else. I will just put it like this so you can see it better. So it covers everything else. It will cover if you, for example, don't input a string, for example, or you can set a condition to check whenever the value is string or is a number. So you can do pretty much many things. So in the else statement you can print, for example, I don't know, the value is not dark, for example. If I say dark here, because it will be confusing for you, dark here, and I will change the string here to something. Okay, so save. So now I have an if statement with additional else statement. This is one structure. It's treated as a one structure. It's not treated separately. So if this one is false, this one is executed. If this one is true, this one is not executed. So it's like a one structure. Okay, I think I saved it. And let's just move out. Error. Did I do something wrong? Print. Oh yeah, there is no. Also, you have to remember about the syntax. You forget sometimes, and you get errors. It's a good thing because you get errors, so you know where to find it. Okay, so the value is not dark. So as you can see, it didn't cover this one. This one becomes false. And because the next one is else statement, it will be printed. If nothing before the else is printed, is executed, then the else statement is always executed at the end. Else statement will be always executed. So sometimes you don't want to actually add an else statement because you may not want to execute something whenever if it's true or false. So it depends. If you want to add an else statement, you can actually do. If not, then well, you can just leave it behind. Now these two are if and else, just one condition and everything else. But there is a way to actually add more conditions, not just one if. And you don't have to write if and if all the time, you can write actually else if. Else if contains a condition, which you can state a different condition, new condition, or even two conditions, which will be checked, and if true, it will be executed. If not, else will be executed. Again, the same structure applies. So, for example, name is same as, so it's equal to ASD, for example. So this one will be true. And again, you have to add a curly brackets. I will just copy this here, and the value is, oh, actually, there it is. And ASD should be okay. So save this, and now as you will see, this one is false, this will become true, and this will not be executed because, well, just one statement out of these three can be executed. If both are wrong, this one is executed. If this one is wrong, this one is executed. If this one is correct, all of them are left behind. Okay, let's save this, and I will show you the result. So the value is ASD. So as I said, so it's pretty simple concept, and it's very, very easy to grasp. If you learned previously some kind of programming language like Java, C++, C, C#, pretty much one of those, or even JavaScript. In JavaScript, I showed you how to create if statements. So you will have no problems with it, because you already know how to do it, and you already know the signs we can use. You already know that we can create variables like this, and we have to use them like this. So it's pretty much just, you know, the variables that in your way. You have to just make sure you write this $sign before the variable's name. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same in every programming language. If you don't know any programming language and this is first for you, this is pretty much how you do it. I already explained how we do it, how this works. And the signs you can actually use, there are a couple of them. So you can actually use double equal for checking whenever the string or even the number, you can use it with numbers, is the same as the other object. So object 1 is the same as object 2. That's what it basically means. We can also use a less than sign, more than sign, yeah. You can use a combination of signs, so you can use less than or equal. This is also valid. So the value whenever it's less than or equal to the object 2. The same goes for more than or equal. You can also do that. There's also not operator, which is a exclamation mark, but you cannot actually, I don't think you can use it just alone. You cannot do it like this, but you can do not equal. So for example, in this case, the variable value, which is ASD, cannot equal dark. So if it doesn't equal dark, this will be printed, and I can actually show you this will be executed. So let me show you. Oh, there it is. Okay, the value is less than 5. As you can see, this is the statement that's printed. I didn't bother to change it, but as you can see, this is the same statement. So the value can be anything but dark. If it doesn't equal dark, this will be executed. And sometimes it is useful to use not equal. And that's pretty much how the operators work. And well, you can also have a condition which is well, you can have more than one condition basically. So you can use operators. There's two operators you can use for your if conditions or else if conditions, and there's two operators. There's an or operator and an and operator. So you have two operators, or and end. And those two operators will allow you to build more conditions into one statement. So for example, the OR operator, I believe it was two vertical lines. So those two vertical lines will mean an OR operator. So OR operator, it means that this condition must be true, or a condition which I will state here. So for example, where is the dollar? And there it is. Num is equal to 3. So now this condition must be true or this condition must be true. So if I run this, save first, and then you can see that the same line is printed again, because one of these must be true. But the other hand, you have a AND operator, because this is an OR operator. Now AND operator is double AND sign. A double AND sign will mean that this condition must be true as well as this one. So both must be true to execute the action, to satisfy. Both must be satisfied to print or execute the action between the curly brackets. And that's pretty much how you build your if statement. You can of course add more conditions, so you can just simply add one more, for example, I don't know, OR statement, and add another condition. So it's not limited to just two conditions. Also, else statement, else if, you can have only one if and one else in the one build. You can of course have another if statement here, if whatever. You're allowed to do this, but if you want more conditions for the same statement, for the same variable, for example, you can add more else statements, else if. So you can just copy them and paste, and you have, for example, 4 or 3 else if statements with more conditions that will apply to your variables, to your code. So this one always is the first one to write. The if is always the first one. Then the optional else if you want, if you need to. You can also write more than one, so it's not limited to just one. And else, if you want to, it's also optional. You don't have to write it, but if you want it, it always comes at the end. So you have to remember these things. So that's pretty much it about this tutorial. Else if and if else statements, this is pretty much simple. If you covered them in my JavaScript tutorials or in different tutorials or different programming languages, you will be fine. I don't suspect any errors, stuff like this, problems with it. My next tutorial will be about loops probably, and because this is the next step in the programming, something like this. So loops, and then we will move on to arrays and stuff like this, functions. So it will be a bit fast paced, because normally I tend to do more tutorials before I come to if statements and whatever. But it will be fast paced because I get that you should know JavaScript beforehand. Because you should know JavaScript beforehand, and then you just move on to PHP. And because I've explained everything in JavaScript, you can just watch them. You can watch my videos on JavaScript, and then you will know pretty much anything. Here I will just cover them very cleanly, fast, and up to the most important points. So very fast-paced tutorials. That's pretty much it. Visit my webpage and YouTube channel for more tutorials. If you like my videos, subscribe on the channel, on my videos. If you like them, just give it a like, and you can also add to favorites or share them. I wouldn't mind. Visit my webpage as well. There's loads of tutorials, both written and links to other videos, and you can check out there, as well as news I post every month, and the same goes for the videos and written tutorials. I post them every month, and you get also the news about stuff, about what I do, what's the plan for the next month and stuff like this. So I encourage you to visit them. And I will actually see you in my next tutorial then. Bye.